What's up, everybody? This is Information Man. Welcome to the program. I want to get into this right now. As you know, there's a lot of controversy over the 12-foot statue of a black woman in Times Square. A lot of people are being triggered by it, whether you're black, white, or otherwise, right? What's happening is that people just don't like the statue. They don't think it belongs there. And my question is it that people don't like the statue being there because it is a black person, in this case, a black woman? And does it feed into the stereotypes and fears that people have about how we are betrayed? Because the statue is of a full-figured black woman standing in Times Square area, just looking into the distance, and people are very triggered by that, right? One of the most important things to understand is that this is part of an art exhibit that's going around the country. There's an artist by the name of Thomas J. Price. He is a sculptor. He does art sculptures of black people in general from his experience growing up and what he likes to do, everybody, because everyone is getting this mixed up. And that is, he likes to portray black people in all different styles. He has statues or sculptures of black women and men that are slender, that are full-figured, the whole perspective that he gives. Everyone's being triggered. Oh, what the hell is this doing in Times Square? Look, this is the bottom line. The art exhibit is only going to be there until June 17th. I understand that people are triggered by the fact that it's a full-figured black woman, but I'm here to make the argument that even if this statue or this art sculpture, because that's the proper name for it, even if this art sculpture was a sculpture of either a black woman who was slender built in a suit, business suit or what have you, I would make the argument that people would still have problems with the statue being in Times Square, even if it was a black woman scaled to 12 feet tall or even lower than that, and it wasn't a black woman that was obese or what we perceive as fat or overweight. And I understand how that plays into some of the stereotypes and some of the issues that we as black people face. Now, look, this is just the bottom line, folks. I want to ask y'all the honest question. If this was a statue of a white woman that was full-figured or non-full-figured, would this even be a big deal? Would this be on your radar? Would anyone be talking about this? Would there be any criticism? Because in America, we are culturally conditioned to see black as inferior, white as superior, and we underestimate, undervalue, and marginalize black people, okay? I think people just don't want to see anything of any black person, no matter what the statue looks like, whether it's a statue of a slender black person or a full-figure black person. I just don't think people want to see it. And I think another thing that's triggering some people when they look at the statue is because the statue, in some cases, might be too damn real. That statue of a full-figure black woman may remind you of your mom, your aunt, someone in your family who kind of has that disposition that you either don't like or that you just don't want to see it, right? Another thing that we've been culturally conditioned by is that on the statue, as you see right here, that she has her hands on her hips. We have been culturally conditioned that if you see a full-figured black woman putting her hands on her hip, that means she's angry. That means something negative is going on. Now, if you look at his artwork, and I'm going to show you his artwork as you see here, he shows different black people in different light. Now, to everybody out there that's ADOS and FBA who's saying, oh, he's trying to do a portrayal of FBA. What this English black guy know? An English black guy who went to the Royal School. He went to Chelsea School of Fine Arts College. He went to the Royal School of Arts in London. So he's very much trained and on creating sculptures. This is the thing, everybody. The artist Thomas J. Prince didn't do these things because he is trying to portray what he thinks is FBA. It has nothing to do with that. He's just going based on black people that have been in his life, and he has put them in this large 12-foot stand to create a situation in which he wants to push the envelope. That's what art does. Art pushes the envelope of what we perceive and what we think. Let me give you a quote right here. This is a quote from him right here. Thomas J. Prince said that the Price, not Prince, but Price, the artist intention was to create a work that celebrates black women and challenges to traditional representation of beauty and power. Now, what is the traditional standard of beauty in America and in the world? That standard of beauty that's always been put on a pedestal is the beauty of a blonde hair, blue-eyed white woman, which is why I go back to what I said before. If this was a white woman, either full-figured or not, would everybody have a problem with this? Because we've been conditioned in society that the only standard of beauty is based on European traits, European standards, where you have to be slender, you have to be a certain weight, and have a certain look, right? Here you have a statue that he made of a black woman who obviously has braids in her hair. Having black women and black people in America struggle with the issues of how they wear their hair and how their hair is being perceived by society that doesn't want to see people wearing their hair in either braids, cornrows. They don't want us to wear our hair ethnically in the way that we feel comfortable, right? That's another reason why people are triggered by this statue, because you've got a black woman up there, a fictitious black woman. This is make-believe, but it's not really make-believe, because that black statue of that black woman represents a lot of people that we have seen in our own family, in our own life, and maybe in some cases it represents something that we want to get away from because it gives us a negative, visceral reaction to it, because here we go again. Oh my God, here we go again. Black people are being made to look goofy. So because of our lack of confidence about our beauty, about ourselves, whether it be our women or men, we're quick to jump into our YouTube channels, make statements about the statue, which, by the way, last time I checked, when you're doing art like this, sculpture art does not have to be based on some famous person, okay? And I'll argue the fact that if you did put a famous person out there that was black, somebody would have a problem with that, because you already have people on the right, the conservatives, the black conservatives, the white conservatives that are hating on this as well, that are saying that the statue represents DEI. This is the foolishness of what's happening in our society. DEI is the new word, a new term for the N-word, right? Back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, they would call black people the N-word, call us color folks, the whole nine yard. So every time white people in their racism, in the buck dancers that follow suit, have something negative to say, they hide behind the word DEI. And the crazy thing about this, everybody, is that DEI is not benefiting black women or black men or black people in general. We only benefit at 4%. DEI is benefiting white women and other groups of people, but not black people in America. Yet they keep trying to make DEI the face of it. So anytime you see this statue that you see in Times Square that people are either rejecting the idea of it being there, don't want it to be there, but then they're labeling it as, oh, it's a form of DEI or being woke. That's just a play on the racial words of, we don't want to see a ninja of any kind in Times Square for the whole world.
12 feet tall, in the middle of Times Square stands a bronze sculpture of a young woman.
It's instantly stood out. It's powerful.
It's so tall and big.
The sculpture, created by artist Thomas Price, was unveiled at Duffy Square last week, and in just a matter of days, it has stopped hundreds in their tracks. Who is she? Well, technically, she's whoever you want her to be.
Me being a plus-size black woman, I kind of looking at it was just like, oh, I wonder what me as a small child would have thought looking at something like that. Representation.
The piece is part of a series called Grounded in the Stars, which Gene Cooney, director of Times Square Art, says confronts preconceived notions of identity and representation.
To have this work here is making a statement, potentially asking questions about what we value as a city, as a society, and hopefully it's a tribute to our shared humanity.
Tourists and New Yorkers we spoke with expressed different interpretations of what she represents to them.
It's a plus-size woman. I'm a plus-size man. I'm African-American. It's an African-American woman statue. So just seeing another piece for me to stop and just have a moment with was very powerful.
If you look at the eyes, it's looking straight at something. It's focused. It's purposeful.
The sculpture proves to be a well-liked juxtaposition placed among the more traditional statues in Times Square, which is the goal, according to officials, of placing said artwork in such a significant area.
Coming from it.
So what I need you to understand, everybody, is I give you some details about this brother, Thomas J. Price. Let me let you know what he's all about. Now, Thomas J. Price is a multidisciplinary practice confronting, his whole goal is to confront perceived attitudes towards representation, perceptions, and identity. Price large scale sculptures are image subjects whose features are based on his individual experiences, black people that have come across in his life, black people, black life in terms of black people just in general. And what he has done is that he doesn't pick any famous people. He just picks regular, everyday people that anybody looking at these statues can identify. Now, a lot of y'all folks out there that have jumped out the window to talk about this on your YouTube channels, you have failed to do your research on what this brother did. See, you fell into his trap, because that's what he does with his art. He purposely wants to take a stab at, or he wants to provoke you talking about these statues. And he has a history of putting various different statues of just everyday, what you would see as regular black people, whether it be in parks, whether it be near museums, it doesn't matter. And that's exactly what they did with Times Square, which is part of a moving exhibit. As I show you his pictures now, and I'm showing you some of the pictures, this is his work. His work isn't just about a full-figured black woman. His work is about so much more that people need to understand, okay? Let me pick this up right here. So I just want people to understand, when you're making your judgments about the artwork that this man has worked on, he has different styles. He has pictures or sculptures of black people who are full-figured, slender built, and athletic. Okay, let me go on to say this. What he's trying to do with his art, everybody, is that he's making reference to ancient, classic, and non-classical sculptures. So he takes these sculptures of black people and puts them in poses similar to the ancient Roman or Greek statues, because he's trying to do what to your mind? He's trying to play on the psychology and the portrayals of the way viewers express and see humanity, right? He wants to challenge you in how you see and what your perception is about black people. And this is why when this artwork was put in Times Square, and it's only going to be there to June 17th, I think it triggered many people, because it did exactly what he wanted to do. Let me reference this here again. Price refers to his fictional sculptures as subjects of psychological portrayals of the viewer, but at the center are the expressions of humanity using methods of presentation, materials, scale, and details. Price aims, everybody, the artist aims to challenge viewers' expectations and assumptions. So he does these things, like we have stereotypes in this country of black people. So he tries to play on those things and our perception of how black people are seen in society and how we also see ourselves. Obviously, there are black people who didn't like it, because one of the areas that everyone kept focusing on is that it was a full-figured woman. It seemed like nobody could get away from that, because we often see black women being portrayed as the full figure. And what happens is people see these things as the mammy character. Let me read right here. Challenging traditional representation. The statue depiction of a black woman directly challenges the common, often thin ideation, representation of beauty and power that dominates popular culture, which is white women. Their standard of beauty has been pushed for many years. I want to also challenge people with this statement I'm about to say right here. I'm going to say it again. If this was a statue of a white woman versus a black woman, whether full figured or not, would you have a problem with it? But another thing I want to touch on, as people are triggered by this statue in Times Square, I would like to ask people out there, Why are you not triggered by the many Confederate statues, over 700 of these Confederate statues across this country that represent white men who enslaved our people, enslaved our ancestors, oppressed us in our communities during the Jim Crow years? Why are we not upset and angry with these Confederate statues that still remain in this country, over 700 or more of them? Let me read something to you. As of most recent reports, there are still a significant number of Confederate statues and monuments remaining in the United States. While the perception number fluctuates due to the ongoing removal of some of these things, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC, estimate that there are 723 or more monuments and statues. This addition means forms of Confederate memorials such as plaques, streets named after these individuals, and schools, bringing the total number of public symbols to the Confederacy to over 200,000. Why is it that we get triggered by a statue of a black woman, whether she's slender or full figure, but we're not triggered by these racist statues that still remain in this country? And by the way, your boy Trump, your daddy Trump, wants to bring those statues back, okay? Why are we not triggered by that, but we're triggered by this statue of a black woman, 12 feet tall, and she's full figured? And I argue that even if the woman was not a full figured black woman, somebody would still find a way to have a problem with it being in the Times Square. Even though Mr. Thomas J. Price has various different depictions of black people in all different sizes in his art exhibits that are going all around the world. And I'm going to say this again for everybody out there that's FBA or ADOS, because the first thing that people are going to think, oh, this guy is from London. What does he know about black culture in America? Here he is trying to embarrass FBA or ADOS. He's a black man. Last time I checked, there's black people in London. There's black people all over the world, of the diaspora of the world. And he wasn't trying to portray any one group of black people from any one country, but just an overall depiction of regular, everyday black people in different sizes and styles. He's got pictures of black men that are slender, full-figured, every variety, which we do have in our community. I think in some ways on a psychological level, deep psychological level, because we may have some internal hate for ourselves as a people. And therefore, when you have internal hate, you begin to project that paternal hate onto anything that may look similar to you or other black people. It's called self-hate, because for so long in this country where they portrayed black people as animals, you have caricatures that they have created of black people in this country. You have all sort of things that they've done to black people in this country to make us look like we're buffoons and what have you. And so I think the Mammy character that we all grew up being aware about, I think that this depiction of this black woman, unfortunately, triggers that muscle memory in our mind of an image that we don't want to identify with, even though we know damn well we have women in our families that look just like this statue or this art sculpture, okay? So I just want people to think about that. Do some research on this brother, as I'm showing pictures of his artwork, which I think some of his artwork is incredible, on your screen. Another thing, too, that I want to talk about is I know that symbolism is something that we're sick of. Oftentimes, they keep giving black people symbolism. And I think, in a way, this statue, once again, represents that symbolism, when many of us would rather have reparations, we'd rather have tangibles than just more symbolism. I totally get that. Let's go into the area of concerns about stereotypes, because I believe in being fair here. A lot of people, there's critics of this statue in Times Square that argue that the statue reinforces negative stereotypes about black women, such as the idea that they are nanny figures, or some say mammy figures, that body size is inherently linked to a lack of achieved status. Now, I'm sure that some of you out there watching this video feel that way when you saw this 12-foot statue of this black woman, or an image of a black woman, what we perceived, right? And the first thing that people were saying is, see, it's the angry black woman. Well, if you look at the face of the statue very closely, and I'm going to show you right here, that it doesn't necessarily have a face of a black woman that's looking angry. She's staring out. That's why the exhibit is called Grounded in the Stars. The Times Square bronze statue of a black woman in Times Square titled Grounded in the Stars was created by the British artist Thomas J. Price, as I've talked about. It's part of a series that will be going around the country, and he's got other art pieces. This is not just his only art piece. I just want people to look at this from both sides of the angle. I too do not like I don't like a lot of symbolism, right? But I want people to look at this and say, look at both angles of this, right? Do people get triggered by statues of white people being put up, or white women? Are we triggered by, like I said, the Confederate statues that have been around this country for a long time that people seem to want to give a damn about in terms of getting rid of them, right? As much as some of you may not stand looking at that 12-foot black woman in Times Square. Then you have to ask yourself, what does that statue represent for us as black people in America in terms of our insecurities about ourselves, our perceptions about ourselves, and how other people perceive us, and our concerns about how other people perceive us? This is exactly what the artist, Mr. Thomas J. Price, was trying to do in evoking this statue in Times Square. So, and automatically people are going to the woke thing. Let me address the whole thing about woke, because people are calling it a DEI statue. It's a woke statue. First of all, the word woke that was created by black people, okay? We use that woke to talk about our spirituality, our culture, our family, our ability to stay in touch with who we are, where we come from, knowledge of self. White people have taken that word woke and destroyed that word woke and wrapped it into this political crap. And now DEI is being used as a weapon against black people in any position that we find ourselves in as a professional. Oh, we must have gotten that job because of DEI, when white people, white women, are the biggest benefactors of DEI. But I don't see anybody crying and whining about that. And like I said before, would anybody give a damn about a statue of a white woman that does not exist in real life and didn't achieve anything? Would anybody have a problem with that? While they say at the same time that statues are supposed to be about people that achieve something. This is where everybody gets it wrong. These are not necessary statues in the sense of a statue in which you commission a statue in honor of a famous person. It's a art exhibit. It's a art sculpture. Why can't we get that in our thick heads? So let me know in the comment section of this video how you feel about this whole situation. And don't get me wrong, I've got no problem with people, particularly black people, who just didn't feel comfortable with that statue being there, don't like it, don't like what they perceive that it represents, that they don't like. You have every right to feel the way you feel about it. But before you make judgment, understand the double standard of our society when it comes to black people. The reality is they really don't want any statues of black people. And then another thing I want to bring to your attention too is that, don't you notice that oftentimes when we do get a statue of a black person, it's a black person that was deleted, a black person that no longer lives, a black person that was assassinated, like a Dr. King or an Emmett Till who was mutilated by racists in this society. We're always getting statues that represent some tragedy that has happened to a black man or woman, yet we get no reparations, no tangibles with it. So when you look at Emmett Till, they put up an Emmett Till statue, but guess what? I don't really care about the Emmett Till statue. I care more about the family getting the reparations that they deserve for what happened to them. Or I don't care about a plaque in Tulsa, Oklahoma. the people that are the descendants of those that were assassinated and taken out of here by those white supremacists in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Those black people that are the descendants that still live, like a Miss Fletcher, who is still alive, who was a child when it happened. What about the reparations that they deserve? The money. The hell with plaques and statues. Give money. See? So that's another flip side to this whole situation. So even when you say, hey, we want to see statues of famous black people, most of these famous black people and their families didn't recoup any reparations for what happened to them when it's a tragic situation. Well, everybody, with that said, I want to say thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell of notification, share this video on all your social media. Tell somebody that you love them. Tell somebody about this channel. Let me know in the comment section of this video how you really feel about this whole issue around that statue in Times Square, because it seems like it's triggered people so much. But I don't see many people triggered when it comes to these white supremacist Confederate statues that are all over this damn country in high numbers. And I damn sure don't see people triggered when white people put up statues of themselves, and they don't even have to be famous. If it was a white woman in Times Square, would anybody really be triggered by this? I highly doubt it. If it was a black woman that wasn't full figured in a nice little suit or what have you, I think people would still find a way to feel some way about it, because I don't think black people really in this country want to see anything of any high level of statues that has to do with anybody black, whether it's a real black person that lived and did something in life or some fictitious black person. So as you can see, this brother's got a lot of great artwork, a lot of great sculptures. And with that said, thank you for watching this video. This is the Information Man Show. I hope you're doing fine. Tell somebody that you love them. Peace.